Welcome back, traveler. You have found your way to the edge of the abyss once again. Make yourself comfortable, but do not close your eyes. Today we are not looking at the stars above, but at the cracked, parched earth beneath our feet. You have seen the headlines, haven't you? They scroll past on your screens, telling you about climate shifts and agricultural disasters. They show you images of a mighty river, once the cradle of civilization, now reduced to a skeleton of dust and mud. The Euphrates is drying up. To the modern world, it is a logistical crisis, a tragedy of geography. But you and I know better. We know that silence isn't just an absence of water. It is the sound of a lock turning. For thousands of years, those rushing waters were not just a life source for humanity. They were a prison wall. They were the heavy liquid chains binding something that was never meant to walk among us again. There is a very specific verse in the book of Revelation. It speaks of the sixth angel pouring out his bowl upon the great river Euphrates. It says the water was dried up to prepare the way. But prepare the way for whom? We are taught to think of angels as beings of light, harp-strumming guardians with soft wings. That is a comforting lie we tell children so they can sleep at night. The truth is far more terrifying. The entities bound beneath that riverbed are not guardians. They are the four fallen kings, the bound ones. They have been waiting in the suffocating darkness, listening to the water recede, inch by agonizing inch. And now, the mud is cracking. The barrier is gone. We are worried about water wars and droughts, while the real threat is stretching its wings in the dry cavern below. Do you hear that sound? It isn't the wind. It is the sound of ancient chains snapping. The river is gone, traveler, and the things it was holding back are finally waking up. Let us descend further, into the mud and the silence. You need to understand the scale of what is happening. This is not just a drought. This is an unveiling. For centuries, local fishermen and shepherds have whispered about the voices of the Euphrates. They claimed that on certain moonless nights, the water didn't just rush, it groaned. They spoke of a low, vibrating hum that seemed to come from the bedrock itself. Science tried to explain it away. They called it tectonic shifting. They called it settling sediment. But now the water is gone, and the sound has not stopped. In fact, it has gotten louder. There are reports coming out of the region right now, reports that mainstream news outlets are conveniently ignoring. Villagers near the Syrian border have abandoned their homes. They aren't leaving because of a lack of water. They are leaving because they can hear screaming coming from the open cracks in the dry riverbed. Think about the specific geography here. The Euphrates runs through the cradle of ancient Mesopotamia. This is the land of Babylon. This is the land where humanity first tried to reach the heavens, and where we were struck down. Archaeologists have recently uncovered caves beneath the dried sections of the river. These are not natural formations. These are prisons. In these newly exposed caverns, they found symbols, not cuneiform, not Arabic, not anything human. They found geometric etchings that hurt the eyes if you stare at them too long. These markings act as a seal, a warning. And the air rushing out of these caves, it smells of ozone and sulfur. It smells like a storm that has been trapped in a bottle for 3,000 years. Let's look at the text again. Revelation chapter 9 verse 14. Release the four angels who are bound at the great river Euphrates. Why four? And why are they bound? Holy angels, the messengers of the light, do not need to be chained. You do not bind a servant of the divine unless that servant has gone rogue. These are not the cherubs you see painted on cathedral ceilings. These are the watchers, the fallen. The ones who looked at humanity not with love, but with envy and hunger. In the book of Enoch, a text conveniently removed from the Standard Bible, we learn about angels who abandoned their posts. They descended to Mount Hermon. They corrupted the bloodline of man. They taught us how to make swords, how to use cosmetics, how to manipulate the roots of the earth. They gave us knowledge we were not ready for, and for that transgression, they were locked away. God did not just banish them to hell, He buried them alive. He used the rushing weight of the Euphrates to keep them down. The water was the heavy lid on their coffin. Now, imagine the entity waiting in that dark. It has not slept. It has not died. It has only waited. It has sat in the crushing dark for millennia, nursing a grudge that burns hotter than the sun. It remembers the face of God, and it hates it. We need to talk about what these beings actually look like. We are conditioned to expect a man with bird wings. That is a human interpretation, a mask to keep us from going insane. A biblically accurate angel, especially one of this magnitude, is a creature of geometric horror. Think of intersecting wheels covered in unblinking eyes. Think of wings that are not made of feathers, but of searing light and shadow. Think of a voice that sounds like the crashing of 1,000 waves. A voice that doesn't speak to your ears, but vibrates your very bones. When these caves fully open, we won't see a man stepping out. We will see a fracture in reality itself. We have seen videos surfacing on the dark corners of the internet. Grainy footage taken by brave, or perhaps foolish, explorers who ventured into the dry bed at night. In one video, a man lowers a microphone into a fissure in the earth. The audio is distorted, clipped, but if you clean it up, if you isolate the frequencies, you hear it. It isn't wind. It is a language. It is a rhythmic, chanting syntax that predates the invention of speech. They are coordinating. The four kings are speaking to one another again. The chains are brittle. The seals are eroded. And the world ignores it. We build dams. We fight over water rights. We treat the Euphrates like a resource, a commodity. We fail to realize that the river was a mercy. It was a shield, and we have let it wither away. There is a concept in demonology called the liminal space. It is the threshold between two states of being. The dried river is the ultimate liminal space. It is no longer water, but it is not yet solid ground. It is the perfect gateway. Historically, every time the Euphrates has dropped significantly, chaos has followed in the region. Empires fall, wars ignite, but this is different. This is total desiccation. The prophecy says that when they are released, they will kill 1/3 of mankind. That is not a war. That is a harvest. Consider the military movements in the region. Why are major world powers so interested in that specific stretch of desert? Why are there restricted zones where no civilians are allowed? They tell you it is for security, for oil, for stability. I tell you they are trying to reinforce the prison. They know what is down there. They have heard the scratching on the bottom of the floorboards. But you cannot stop a prophecy with tanks. You cannot patch a metaphysical leak with concrete. The angels are waking up. Their stiffness is fading. The blood is returning to their ethereal limbs. And the first thing they will see when they break the surface is us, the descendants of the very creatures they tried to corrupt. Do you think they will be happy to see us? Do you think they will offer us wisdom? Or do you think they will resume the work they started before the flood washed them away? The drought is not an accident. It is a timer, and the clock has hit 0. We have reached the end of the river, traveler, or rather, we have reached the beginning of the end. The water is gone, and the wet mud is turning into dust. The lock is broken. But the most terrifying part isn't the monsters climbing out of the pit, it is what follows them. The prophecy doesn't just speak of 4 angels, it speaks of what they summon. Revelation describes an army. 200 million horsemen. But these are not men on horses. The text describes breastplates of fire, jacinth, and sulfur. It describes heads like lions and tails like serpents that can inflict injury. For centuries, scholars thought this was metaphor. They thought John was describing tanks or helicopters or nuclear missiles. They were wrong. He wasn't describing technology. He was describing a biological impossibility. He was describing a legion of interdimensional locusts guided by the 4 kings we just released. And here is the detail that keeps me awake at night. The scripture says these 4 angels were prepared for a specific hour, a specific day, a specific month, and a specific year. Think about the precision of that. This isn't a random event. This isn't a chaotic accident of nature. It is an appointment. The drying of the Euphrates is the alarm clock ringing, and we cannot hit the snooze button. The date was set before humanity built its first fire. Right now, the geopolitical tension in the Middle East is at a boiling point. Nations are posturing. Armies are gathering near the Euphrates Valley. They think they are preparing for World War III. They think they are fighting for land, or resources, or ideology. They are tragically mistaken. They are gathering exactly where the entities need them to be. They are offering themselves up as the first course of the banquet. My advice to you, traveler, is simple. Watch the news, but listen to the static between the stations, watch the water levels, and when you hear the reports of unexplained phenomena over the deserts of Iraq, do not look for a logical explanation. Do not look for a weather balloon or a military test. Close your windows, lock your doors, and pray to whatever God you believe in that the water comes back. Because if the river stays dry, the fire is coming. The abyss is no longer beneath us. It is standing right in front of us, and it has opened its eyes. I am Vector, and I will be waiting here, in the dark, for as long as the signal lasts. Don't let the silence take you.